Okay, in this example, we are also comparing two population proportions. And in this case, we are looking at a survey done by Pew Research. And they research whether being a parent is the most important aspect of your personal identity. And they compared fathers and mothers. Okay, so looks like fathers is actually group number one and mothers is group number two. Let's go ahead and first compute the sample proportions. So let's see. So for fathers, we had 267 people said yes, that being a parent is the most important aspect. And divide that by the total number of fathers. Now we want to round this to 4 decimal places. Okay, so approximately 23% of fathers say that. Now, hopefully, mothers is larger. Okay, we got 515 out of 1430. So, yes, it looks like mothers are larger, but think it's not that large, which is kind of worrisome to me that mothers are not thinking that that's the most important thing is the kids. Oh man, those mothers. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and see what is going to happen here. So for the null hypothesis, we want the equal sign. For the alternative here, it's either not equal, less, or more. So how do we know what it is? Well, we have to search for the claim. Now, the claim here is what we're trying to test. So it says, test whether more mothers than fathers consider being a parent the most important part of their lives or whatever. So they want to test that mothers proportion is higher than fathers. Now this is going to be confusing because this is actually going to be confusing quite a bit because in here this is the problem. Number one is fathers and number two are mothers. So when you see the word more, you could be like, oh yeah, well it's going to be a right tail test. Well, no, it's not, because if you look at the sample proportions, the 23% for the fathers is actually smaller than that for the mothers. It's not going to be a right tail test. So why is that? What's the confusing part? So when you say more mothers than fathers, you can rephrase it as less fathers than mothers. Do you understand? It's like, oh my God. But anyway, more mothers means that this one is greater. And so that would mean less fathers, and this one is less. And when you draw your inequality, you want to always draw the inequality from the smaller number towards the larger number. So this is actually a left tail test. Now, there is going to be one other thing that I want you to always check. If you decided that this is a left tail test, you are expecting your test statistic to be negative. How do I know that? Because most of the time for a left tail test, you are looking for a negative test statistic. Now, is that always going to happen? No. But for our examples, most of the time it's supposed to happen. So if my test statistic is positive, that should give me pause and I should go check. Maybe I determined the sign incorrectly. But let's take a look. So I'm testing myself. Did I do this right or not? Okay, so let's go to the plus sign, go to inference, go to z-test for proportions. For the sample number one, we're entering 267 out of 1,160. For sample number two, we are entering 515 out of 1,430. So create test. Let's first expand the significance test menu. All right. So the both part is incorrect because it said more mothers than fathers. So I'm between left and right. Now I thought it was left. I thought it was less than. Did I get the confirmation by looking at the sign of the alternative? Well, I mean, the sign of the test statistic, it is negative. So the sign of the alternative was correct. It was supposed to be negative because I decided less than. Okay, so that's the confirmation. So it looks like I got this right. So let's type the test statistic. You expect it to be negative for a left tail test. Now the p-value looks like it's a very small number. Look at this 10 to the negative 13th. This is like 12 zeros and a 39. This is a 0 approximately. So that means that p-value is of course less than any alpha you could think of. 0 is always less than than any positive numbers. So we are definitely going to reject the null hypothesis. And we absolutely have enough evidence to conclude that the proportion of fathers who think that being a parent is most important aspect of their identity is less than mothers. Now, this is where it gets so confusing, because when you look at the claim, it said more mothers than fathers. But here it says it in terms of fathers. Oh my God. So anyway, if more mothers, then less fathers. Okay, so that's what this is. Okay, very confusing. Okay, let's go ahead and close the significance test and open confidence interval. And it looks like I do have to change the confidence level to 94. Now, my case is number 3. Why is that? Well, because when you look at this stuff, so remember, case number 1 is minus plus, case number 2 is plus plus. Here, case number 3, we've got minus minus. What does that mean? It means proportion 2 is greater than proportion 1. So it's opposite of case 2. The second group is larger. What was the second group? Well, the second group was mothers. So we're looking for the choice that said there is more mothers that think that parenting is important or most important. So proportion of mothers should be higher than fathers. So this should be this one right here.